What's your first reaction to this? A CRJ-900, Chris reports the tail and wings have been sheared off. It's upside down. Your thoughts?
Well, I think my first thoughts, John, are I'm glad to hear that everyone is accounted for. And hopefully, as you indicated, hopefully that does mean that everybody is at least okay.
And what does it suggest anything to you that the plane is upside down? And obviously, we don't want to speculate about things beyond the pictures that we're seeing, but or go too far. But a plane being upside down on the tarmac there, does that suggest anything to you?
Well, I think, as Chris indicated, it's a lot of snow there and on the airport. And I think that, the airport could have been sliding and then somehow or another gone off the runway and gone upside down. So it's really, as you know, it's just a lot of speculation at this point.
And we won't go any farther than that. Help me understand the coordination with the Canadian version of the NTSB. Chris says they'll be taking the lead. But obviously, since the flight originated in the States, I would assume there's a protocol for NTSB working hand in hand with them.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada does an excellent job, and the NTSB will be invited in as an accredited representative, since it is a U.S. registered airplane and U.S. operated airplane. NTSB will be invited in, so they will work hand in hand together to determine what happened here, and most importantly, come up with recommendations to keep something like this from happening again.
All right, Robert Sumwald, former chair of the National Transportation Safety Board, thank you so much. Just to recap here, a plane landing at Toronto Airport has flipped over. The airport says all passengers and crew are accounted for. That's what we know at the moment. Our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news, and tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm John Dickerson in New York.
Okay, I want to recap now for anyone who is just joining us. A plane coming from Minneapolis crashed at the Toronto Pearson International Airport. We do know 15 people were injured. Some were transported to a hospital. We know one child and 2 adults are still in critical condition with their injuries. All other injuries are said to be minor and non-life-threatening, which is great news. We just got a statement from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He says, quote, "I am in touch with Delta after a flight taking off at MSP crash landed in Toronto this afternoon. Grateful to the first responders and the professionals on the scene." Let's take you live to the scene now in Toronto, Canada, where you can see through the gates here on the runway of the Toronto Pearson International Airport. The plane, this Delta plane, is flipped over onto its back. The wings are sheared off, and so is the tail of this plane.
Don't leave. Oh, come on.
Let me turn off
I can't believe you're playing that
this audio here.
footage, that audio. Yeah, they're gonna hate us. Yeah, Chuck, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh, it
5,
looks like
6,
this
7, 8,
audio
9,
is
10.
coming from our national correspondents out on the scene there. Let me turn it down. They are getting ready for some live reports in Toronto for CBS News. This is as our 4 o'clock news is coming up in just a half an hour here. This plane crashed around just before 2 o'clock our time. And we know that it took off from Minneapolis around 10:30 this morning. We again have a statement from Governor Walz. He just issued this statement. Let me pull this up for you. He issued the statement, quote, "I'm in touch with Delta after a flight taking off from MSP crash landed in Toronto this afternoon. Grateful to the first responders and professionals on the scene." End quote. Now we know our David Schumann is at the Minneapolis-Saint Paul International Airport right now, and he says 2 flights from Minneapolis-Saint Paul International that were headed to Toronto this evening have now been canceled. He's at the airport, and we hope to get a conversation with him shortly live to get more information about what exactly is happening here in Minneapolis after that flight was coming from Minneapolis and landed in Toronto. Landed, but flipped over onto its back. 80 people were on board. All 80 were evacuated. 15 people were said to have injuries. Several of them were transported to the hospital. 3 people are still critically injured. We know that 1 child and 2 adults have critical injuries at this time. All the other injuries are minor to moderate, according to local ambulance and medical experts in Toronto. So when it comes to the time of the crash, the weather conditions here, let me show you what we were looking at. We know that at the Pearson Airport, it felt like -5 degrees, around 16 degrees Fahrenheit. We had, this is the conditions at the time of the crash. We know that winds were around 40 miles per hour, and we had heard that Toronto got a lot of snow over the weekend, around 7 inches, so there was a lot of snow blowing around. And the winds were very high at the time of landing. So there's speculation over if that was a part of this incident, and if it were to have led to what happened here. Thankfully, no one was hurt. No one was killed in this plane crash. Let's take a look here. So this is the live look through the gates here at the airport. Earlier today, shortly after the crash, this is what was seen outside of the airport. You can see this is the back of the plane there, the tail end that it looks, it's not there anymore. The tail was sheared off, the wings were off, and this plane is flipped over onto its back. At this point in time, this was very, very soon after the landing of this plane. Emergency crews were still trying to put out fires on this plane. We know 80 people were on board, 80 people were evacuated, which is great news. You can see here, that's the middle part of the plane where the passengers are. And we also know that this was a regional plane, so it only held around 80 passengers. This is video from John Nelson. He was a passenger on this plane. He took this shortly after getting off of it. You can see people still getting evacuated from the plane as they are dousing it with either water or some sort of fire suppressant. I mean, can you imagine how confusing this would be? And it's quite amazing. You see something like this, and to not have any casualties is quite amazing. Again, we do know there were about 15 people that have been reported injured. Several of them were taken to the hospital. And we now know that 3 people are still critically injured. 1 child and 2 adults have critical injuries that are life-threatening, and we know that everyone else who was injured, though, they were considered minor or moderate injuries, non-life-threatening. We're continuing to get new information coming in constantly. We also have some audio. Let me pull that up. We have audio of the one second here. We have audio from the air traffic control, and I want to play that for you. This was at the time of the crash, This is what was heard from air traffic control. Let me pull this up.
I'm here, so just let me know what you'd like to do. We just had a crash on runway 23 here.
April, Roger. Yeah, we're discussing with their OCC whether they wanted to redeploy to this crash site or not.
Roger, we're 7105, contact departure 1288.
Departure 28, we're 7105.
Second Mike Tango Medevac, not sure what the plan is here, just give me a second.
Tower Air Canada 787 short 24 right ready.
Second 787 on 4th Street, currently the airport's closed for
Pressure.
Tower Life Flight 1 Medevac.
Life Flight 1 Medevac, Tower.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to continue northbound due to weather. We've got permission from OCC to land north end and assist with this crash if needed.
Life Flight 1 Medevac, Roger, proceed to north end for now. You want to land Juliet and Kilo area?
Hey, firm, Juliet Kilo for Life Flight 1 Medevac. Just for my essay, where's the crash?
It's on runway 23, right at the threshold, right at this intersection there, 23 and 15 left.
Okay, we got it in sight. Can you tell us what type of aircraft it was?
Yeah, it was an RJ-9.
Roger.
Put the land at threshold of 15 left, Life Flight 1 Medevac.
A firm, yeah, 15 left, A firm for Life Flight 1 Medevac. We can do that.
Be able to, you have to go to FBO?
We're just trying to figure that out. This is kind of new ground for us.
Life Flight 1 Medevac, Roger. Juliet and Kilo intersection, you can land there, wind 270-24, gusting 33.
Clear land, Juliet Kilo, Life Flight 1 Medevac next.
Life Flight 1 Medevac, just so you are, there's people outside walking around the aircraft there.
Yeah, we've got it. The aircraft there's upside down and burning.
Check 270-23, gusting 33.
Tower Life Flight 1. Yeah, just Air Transat is pushing back there. Or sorry, is they being towed forward. So we're going to go past, and I'm not sure where they want to position, but we'll let them go past and we'll try to get in.
Okay, Life Flight 1 Medevac, they're not coming out onto Juliet, so I think they're holding there. They're going to push back, so your discretion there, Juliet and Kilo.
All right, Roger. We're going to Juliet Kilo. If they could push back, we're just discussing whether we can go to that site or not. It's sort of out of our purview for the initial.
Okay, no problem. Just let me know.
Will do.
And they are working on backing up now.
Thank you.
You just heard the audio from the air traffic control at the time of this crash. This is a live look. We know that emergency crews responded to this crash involving the Delta Airlines plane that arrived Monday around 2 p.m. local time at the Toronto Pearson Airport from Minneapolis-Saint Paul, ultimately landing upside down in this, as you can see, wintry condition. The FAA says all 80 people on board this flight 4819 operated by Endeavour Air were evacuated. And the Peel Regional Paramedic Services confirmed to us, CBS News, that 15 patients had been transported to the hospital. Out of those injuries, 1 child and 2 adults are critically injured, and the rest of the injuries are minor to moderate, officials say. All crew and passengers have been accounted for. Now, the FAA says the investigation will be led by the Transportation Safety Board of Canada. And Delta Airlines said in a statement that it is aware of reports of Endeavour Flight 4819 operating from Minneapolis-Saint Paul to Toronto Pearson International Airport as involved in an incident. We are working to confirm any details, and we will share the most current information as soon as it becomes available. And the Ontario Premier Doug Ford said he is relieved there are no casualties. He said officials are in contact with the airport and local authorities and will provide any help that is needed. All right, we just got new information from the Canadian NTSB. They say TSBA Air is deploying a team to investigate an aircraft accident at Toronto Lester B. Pearson International Airport, Ontario, Canada. The TSB will gather information and assess the occurrence. It made no further comment. So that is the newest information we have from the Canadian NTSB. Now, meteorologists say at the time of the incident, there was blowing snow in Toronto. The visibility was down to about 6 miles at the time, and wind gusts 20 to nearly 40 miles per hour. And temperatures were well below freezing at 17 degrees.